Hey, what's up everyone? So I'm revisiting a series that I always like to shoot and that you guys and girls love to interact with. And that's the blank things I learned from this photographer. And this time I want to talk about Saul Leiter and how and looking into his work and people who he's inspired, who I also look up to, how he's impacted myself. And I'm going to give you 5 lessons I've learned from really looking into him. I know there's probably a lot more, but here's some of the 5 lessons that I've learned from Saul Leiter and his work and his inspiration. And I'll just give you a brief intro on who he is, just in case you're not aware. So I've got some notes that I'll reference to, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about where Saul Leiter came from and a little bit of his background. And he's a painter and photographer. He was really into painting, then he picked up a camera a little bit later on. And in the 1940s and 50s, his work was very, very recognized. And it became an important contribution to what essentially is now the New York School of Photography. So Saul really has made an impact, especially in street photography, photojournalism, in every regard, with the way he captured some things. And you'll get a sense of why I say that, and some of the tips that I'm going to get into and things that stick out in his work, and you'll definitely get a sense of that. But he's from Pennsylvania, and he moved to New York in his late 20s. And a lot of the professional work that he did, once again, he painted, but he also did photography, and it was in black and white work. And he was quoted to be inspired by, and I'm not 100% sure of how to say these names, but it's important because of how these painters, who were also photographers, not sure if he knew that or if that factored in, but these painters, their attributes contributed to the way his eye became. And Saul was inspired by Edgar Degas, Pierre Bonnard, and Edouard Villard, something like that. I'll leave those names down below if you want to check those out as well. And once again, they were photographers and painters, and that's how that became. And what was very interesting is, once again, looking back, it was all the black and white work he was known for, but it wasn't until the 90s where people found out or was discovered that he was doing a lot of color work as well for his personal work. And that's really where you saw things. Now, once again, very, very well known for the black and white stuff, for his professional stuff. But that was also the big thing as well, is his color, and that's what really stood out, and that's what still makes an impact to this day, and it absolutely does. But sadly, Saul passed away in November of 2013 at the age of 89, but he left this legacy. He was well known for a lot of things and the look and everything that he went through, and his work really inspired a lot of people, and really the people that I look up to now, especially in street photography, and they've become extremely popular. They embody a lot of what Saul's work has done, as well as others as well. But 2 of the ones that stick out to me are Joshua Jackson and Craig Whitehead, Sixstreerunder. If you don't know their work, I'll link them down below as well. A lot of work on Instagram and their own personal sites. They do a lot of workshops and everything, but they really embody a lot of these little, I guess, 5 or 6 things that I've learned from Saul's work in their work as well. And it really opened my eyes to look at things a little differently for street photography and kind of any photography. One of the first things you'll notice in Saul's work is his use of composition and mainly negative space, and how he uses the negative space to tell the story, to really draw your eye down or over to where, he wants you to lead you to the subject. And I'm going to put up a lot of his work on here, and I'll leave all the credit down below to where I got these. And they're all Saul's images, and you'll easily see, like, he'll use a very dark portion of the frame, then there'll be a strip of light somewhere, and then someone will be there, or it's shot through something. The frame's mainly taken over, but it's a little area where there's something that draws the interest, and that can really help in street photography, where you can eliminate a lot of the clutter, noise, everything in the environment, and really focus in on the subject and the story you want to tell. The second big thing that jumps out to me is his use of being abstract, but not fully abstract, in which you'll see a lot of his work where there's mist or rain or some fog over a window, and maybe a hand has moved through it. There'll be some like text on the window or something, through a shop window, and you'll see a figure. But instead of it just being abstract, where it's just like colors, which there are, you'll get more of a person. But sometimes the way they're distorted because of the way the fog or something looks and how it bends the light a little bit, the person will look a little bit distorted as well, and it just makes a unique scene. So yes, it's abstract, but it's not fully making you wonder, but it does tell a story, which I think is pretty key. One of the third things is minimalism. Now, you'll notice that going back to the composition and the use of negative space, but minimalism and the search for color. And he'll find a scene to where there isn't a ton going on, but the way he shot it, used his settings and everything, he looked a little bit for color, like someone with a red hat going by or a unique color umbrella or something in the distance. You'll notice a lot of that in his work, and that's what sticks out. You can use a juxtaposition of bright colors and everything to really see what's going on, but he did it in a very minimalistic way, and he did certain things with his camera and lens, which I'll cover too, which is different, to achieve this effect. But minimalism was very, very key in Saul's work. But kind of go back to what I said, the fourth thing is his love of shooting umbrellas in bad weather, snow, and once again, looking for that bright color. And I've gathered it from looking at a lot of his work, it's just different. Not a lot of people like to go out into the elements, but the way that the snow can fall and you can drag your shutter a little bit or slow it down can really create an effect, the longer lines, or you can capture the fineness of, snowflakes falling or something like that, and it can help, frame your image or that it's going through. And he didn't have a problem with focus, where he didn't mind probably the subject being out of focus if he got a little bit of something in the foreground, but that's kind of where it goes back to the abstract thing, to where you know what's going on, even though it's abstract and maybe not fully in focus. Number 5 is about the gear, tying back to the other point, and it's his use of a telephoto lens. He really did like to use a compressed look, a telephoto lens, and that's what you'll notice, especially in a lot of Joshua and Craig Whitehead's work as well, is using like 50 millimeters on a crop sensor, 56 millimeters, to give you that telephoto look, in which forces you to tell a story. Like, you don't have to necessarily shoot wide open always, where 20 to 35 millimeter in that range is popular and more common for street photography. This forces you to do something differently, and I noticed that as well once I purchased the 50 millimeter for my Fuji X Pro 2, is that you can definitely tell a story within it, but you're in a tighter frame, so make it count. But using a telephoto lens gave that that compressed look, and it looks really, really good if you know how to tell the story that way. And the last point, 6, is something I kind of have to read because it's a quote, but I think it's 100% key for Saul's work and who he inspires, and it's that he says the photo will come to you. Now, he's quoted as officially saying, he never searches for a photo. Instead, they come to you. It's a reaction. And this was also a big philosophy that Bresson pretty much embodied as well, where the feeling that it just happened. You documented it. The photojournalistic side of things, you didn't set it up. It was a very candid action, and you weren't necessarily going out to search for something. You were walking by, you saw the background was amazing, the light was hitting it a certain way. Maybe you waited a couple minutes, but bam, the scene found you, the subject found you. And that's very hard, because I do find myself struggling with that, kind of letting something happen or forcing something to happen, where you could go to a scene, you have a great backdrop, but you're forcing something to happen. You want something to happen, and it just doesn't, and it really gets you frustrated. And that happens when you force things too much, and that goes beyond photography. That goes with a lot of things in life. You just got to roll with the flow. But in street photography, patience is absolutely key. And one of the last things I kind of want to end this whole video on is, what have I learned fully? And it's on this quote, and it's what Saul said, and he goes, I don't have a philosophy, I just have a camera. And that's true. Put all the BS aside, put all that stuff aside, you have a camera, go and capture whatever it is you need to do, achieve your goal. Now, I'm going to leave a couple links down below, especially to personal friend of the channel, Ted Forbes, Art Photography. He covered a lot back in 2013, a couple years ago, of Saul Leiter. So I'm going to leave some of his links down below and in a pinned post if you want to learn way more instead of the basis that I just covered. But I just wanted to just share some of the things that I learned, and we can kind of go from there. And I want to know your thoughts as well. What are other street photographers that have inspired you? Do you follow Joshua and Craig as well? And the other thing I want to do, if this video does, decently well and it gets a lot of engagement, I have an extra Photofile book of Saul Leiter's work that I'd be willing to do a giveaway within the US. Once again, it's just a book. It's just got, a ton of his work and everything in it, but it embodies a lot of what I talked about in this video. So if you want this giveaway, comment down below, give this video a thumbs up, and we'll give this bad boy away soon. Within a week or so, I'll go through and we'll pick a random a comment through a number generator and go from there. I'll contact you with this. And yeah, so hopefully this finds a home with one of you guys and girls, and we can go from there. But that's 6 of the best things that I've learned from Saul Leiter, and things that have definitely helped shape my mind with photography more than just street photography.